Welcome, everyone. Happy Friday. I'm the Grace Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Friday, April 11th, 2025. Can I please have the first two cards in our 5 card spread for today? First two cards. We are starting our day off with today. I love it. We've got here the Lovers and the Page of Cups in its upright. So, here's the thing about the energy right now. One of the things that we're seeing that is happening is, and I want to walk you through why I keep on describing this period right now as chariot energy, because a lot of the work that's happening right now is in the space, and I'm not surprised to see this. We've been talking a lot about this. We have had basically a bit of a yo-yo effect that occurred from the space of the retrograde, the eclipse that we came out of, and now like Mercury, like going direct. But there's something really important about the position of where Mercury is going direct. Now, I'm just going to describe to you what we've been seeing that has been occurring throughout that eclipse that we just came out of versus where we are now. So when we first entered the eclipse cycle, we had Mercury and Venus that were hanging out in Aries. And then what's actually happened, like the important thing that happened during during this eclipse, that feels like I keep on describing this as like a bit of a yo-yo right now, is that Mercury and Venus pulled out of Aries back into Pisces, while at the same time, Neptune pushes up into Aries, okay? Now, this is important. Why is this important? Because we talk a lot about here, the space of Neptune is such that Neptune is the memory bank, right? This is why we articulate it as the ocean. It's often the energy that's related to stored memory, right? The things that we hold, the depth and the capacity that we experience. Now, Mercury, like Neptune, is exalted in Pisces, right? Because again, the emotions are deep. But what happens is with Neptune moving into Aries, what are a lot of at the same time that Gemini is in the Jupiter's in Gemini, is a lot of conversations around the space, the difference between depth, like the quantity of something that you feel, versus direction, right? The intensification of how we feel versus the direction. And that's what we see, like a lot of these lessons that we've been working through right now, like the messages coming through from Neptune is don't confuse depth for direction, right? Direction is direction. Having a lot of feelings about something isn't direction, right? Talking about the magnitude of something isn't direction. One of the things that we recognize is the thing that is like direction is direction. They're not to be confused. Now, if these are situations and circumstances where, and this is why it's really important right now, at the same time that we're experiencing this, Mercury is like, I like to describe it as the engine, right? It's the energy of innovation. It's the energy that's like, it's the ignition switch. It's a lot of that rapidity. It's a lot of that fastness. Now, what we basically had, and this is why I was describing this before as like a bit of a K-turn, because what we had basically happening is in that space that we saw Mercury moving behind Neptune, right? With Venus pulling back as well. There's a lot of this energy that we see that may be based upon and built upon contemplation in relationality to the things that we care about. And what's interesting about it is that the fact that Mercury is behind Neptune has to do, and again, we've got basically over the last few days, Mercury has woken up, if you will, out of retrograde. And what is Mercury seeing when they wake up? They're behind Neptune. So the ability to see something from the past with a perspective that you could not see it before. You know, this is why there may be, even in some of the energetic connections that are forming at this time, like a lot of releasing of frustration. Because, and this is the most important thing, the reason that we see so many of these moments right now that feel like chariot lessons is there's a lot of objectivity that's occurring right now in not being able to confuse how we feel versus how we think. How we feel versus how we think. Because again, when we are in a space of being able to, and we've been talking a lot about this, there's been a lot of lessons that have been coming through about true stoicism, right? True stoicism isn't just shutting off the emotions. That's not stoicism. That's easy. True stoicism isn't about shutting off the emotions. It's not about going numb. It's about honoring the emotions, understanding the enormity of what we carry, but not letting it cloud our judgment, right? So I'm seeing that for a lot of the energy right now, across all of the frequencies, this is having the most volatility right now for energy and separation. And I'm going to tell you right now, the partnerships that are coming together at this time, last cycle, they were warrior partnerships. This cycle, they're chariot partnerships. Because these are a lot of energies right now that are recognizing. And the reason I keep on getting the fact that they're chariot is because they're aspirational relationships. They're not inspirational relationships. What is the difference between aspirational and inspirational relationships? Center card, we've got here the moon, right? And I'm not surprised to see that either, because the moon, like inspirational relationships are often demarcated by relationships that feel like there's no consistency, right? Someone that only reaches out to us when the mood strikes, when we feel the energetic inclination. Healthy partnership is such that we don't do things just because we feel inclined to do them, right? We aspire for something. We hold an energetic standard. And the ability to arrive at a standard, it's not conditional upon whether we feel like it or not, right? And this is why I keep on seeing that there's a lot of this work that is occurring right now for a lot of the energy building into the context of new relationships here. Because, and I keep on seeing, there are relationship jitters that are occurring. Like all of this, I'm going to tell you right now, all of this energy that we just experienced coming out of the eclipse cycle, like going through the eclipse cycle, relationship jitters, worrying about the perception of the self, being overly concentrated on the self, being conscientious, right? Working in that space of allowing for that context of identifying and recognizing, working through, stumbling upwards. There's a lot of energy building into new connection right now. Being able to tell the difference between someone that reaches out because they're aspirational, right? Someone that is reaching out in the context or trying to build into a way of identifying and doing something better versus those. And in the moment, and what happens in the moment that we build into the context of seeing someone aspiring in relationship, it immediately allows the context by which we can identify someone that was more in an inspirational aspect, right? It's like the moment we see that, it's like the clarity that comes from the past via the connection in the present. And that's why I keep on seeing even here, there may be a lot of these new relationships where there's a lot of airing of grievances. There's a lot of airing, there's a lot of speaking towards frustration, right? Getting it out, right? But here's why I got to tell you now, because when one is in an inspirational relationship, you often don't have the ability to express yourself. Because if another person is only coming towards you to be inspired, and then again, you come into a place of authenticity, and the energy goes, well, that's not very inspirational of you, and they go away, then often it's that moment, and this is why I keep on seeing that we get really mad because we look at relationships that required us to feel like we had to be performative within them, right? Not necessarily being able to be our authentic self, but feeling like we have to serve the purpose or the role of a counterpart that only comes to us because they want to see or find beauty within us. And that's why I keep on seeing the authenticity that's happening right now in some of these relationships. The ability to, again, have the ability to get something off of the chest and not feel like someone who pulls away at that moment, but says it's nice to see you in a space of being able to be in your authenticity, right? Like there's a lot of that energy here that feels like a relief or a release, because that's the energy that feels the space of, even though they're starting something, there's room for them to be authentic within it, right? But at the same time, in the moment that they identify that, they may now look back and see what was occurring in the past that wasn't creating a space where which they could be able to be in their authenticity. While for masculine and feminine energy right now coming into divine union, can I please have 2 more cards to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our 5 of Cups in combination with our Wheel of Fortune in its reversal. This is catharsis. I just keep on seeing there's a little bit of this solemnity here. It almost feels like some energy right now that is coming into divine union, moving out of Scorpio into Virgo to a certain extent. I have to investigate why, but that sense or that space of, I keep on hearing, awakening is recognizing. That's what I keep on hearing that's happening right now for energy coming into divine union. And why is the energy saying awakening is recognizing? Because when we awaken to ourselves, often it's like, we talk about this here. Awakening isn't like, oh, it's like sometimes like, oh, it's those moments that we look back and we recognize something that we could not see before about the self. And that's why I keep on seeing that working through that space, consolation and confirmation, right? Consoling oneself for something that you could not see before, but then appreciating the fact that you see it itself is a confirmation that you're moving in the right direction. This is a lot of the energy right now, setting the intention as you move towards this Libra full moon, what those energetic standards are going forward. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within divine union, I just keep on seeing the same thing right now. A lot of this energy deep within divine union, working through the context of recognizing and identifying. I keep on seeing a gentle touch. Why is this energy going through a gentle touch right now? Because when you're going through a catharsis point, when you see something that you want to heal, right? When you're working on something, we give ourselves catharsis by identifying and recognizing and asking ourselves if there's something that we can do in a situation. But at the same time, we're energetically conscientious because we don't like to force things if something can't move in the direction that we aspire and desire it to. So I keep on seeing that there's a little bit of this energy right now coming into divine union or deep within divine union that is applying like gentle touch to frustrating situations, which is seeing if something has changed, seeing if something can be done about it, right? Giving that I keep on seeing like extending, I keep on hearing like extending the olive branch, but not like chopping down the full tree, because it's in that moment that you offer something to someone that feels, I keep on seeing like an energetic peace offering in relationality to making peace, right? But it's almost that state or that space that allows for that easement that is also, I keep on seeing, highly courteous, because when we're highly courteous, we don't force healing on others. We articulate and identify the fact that there's something that we would like, but we are conscientious about how another person feels about it. So I keep on hearing there's a lot of energy right now deep within divine union, having conversations in relationality to courtesy. Continuing to have clarification between our Lover's card in combination with our Page of Cups in its reversal. 1 card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our 6 of Pentacles in its reversal. So one of the things that we're seeing right now that and I keep on identifying this is, and you'll recall that one of the things that we have to continue to work through, particularly as we navigate Venus in retrograde cycles, is the over concentration on the perception of the self, right? It's very typical when we're going through Venus retrograde cycles to feel like the optics of overly concentrating on how others perceive us or the perception of the self. But that's why we keep on seeing that being able to navigate that with a sense of compassion, right? Compassion for oneself, not being too hard on the self, being appreciative on how far one has come, to be able to build into that context of adaptability. You know, I keep on seeing that across all of the frequencies right now, there's a lot of that concentration that is focused upon and based upon being, I keep on seeing, not being easier on the self, but being gentler on the self. And why are we getting that sense about gentle? Because, and we've talked a little bit about this. We talk about, and these are why all of these messages that are coming through right now with Libra, the Libra full moon, have to do with balance. When we're energetically good with ourselves, when we feel energetically balanced, I need to stress this. It's not that we're perfect, right? Often, like, the way we become good with ourselves is by healing the desire to be perfect. But that doesn't mean that we don't strive to something that we aspire for, right? We've been talking a lot about, one of the things we talk a lot about here is working through the space of the ego and the higher self, right? And what do we see with the ego? The ego is the defense mechanism of the self. The ego is the part of us that rises up that wants to protect us. But when the ego is not in check, it rises up to such an extent that we can't see beyond it, right? We always articulate it here as like the buddy system, right? Like the buddy that wants to take care of you, like that friend that wants to take care of you. But when it becomes too great, it blocks our view. It blocks our ability to see anything. So a lot of the work that we do is not kind of trying to abandon the ego entirely, but working to check our ego, to identify what feels like it is restorational to us, what feels like it is something that empowers us. It feels like something that helps us forward. While at the same time, often in the striving towards reaching the higher self, it's easy to feel like you're failing in that journey. It always feels like it's energetically out of reach. But understanding that the nature of moving towards the higher self is one that it's always aspirational, something that inspires us as we aspire towards it. This allows us not to be in the context of bludgeoning ourselves with it, not beating ourselves up because we're not perfect, but holding ourselves sacredly because we see what that is that we aspire for. And we give ourselves compassion as we journey to reach that destination. So I keep on seeing that one of the difficulty points that is being navigated right now, specifically and particularly as it relates to a lot of this work, is building upon, I'm not surprised to see this, balance, right? Working in the space, not over giving, right? Not over giving on things, but not under giving either. Like finding that proportionality. Now, that proportionality is why I keep on seeing a lot of this energy right now in separation. This is articulating the difference between the energy having breakdowns right now and breakthroughs. But the one advantage I will say for a lot of the energy moving into separation at this time is it feels like healed separation. It doesn't feel like it's a kind of separation that there's a question as to what's happening. Because this is a lot of the energy I told you, and we were talking about this last month, Renaissance energy, finding the words to be able to explain the reasons why something isn't energetically working. While for a lot of the energy at the same time coming into divine union, the ability, this is energy coming towards one another with what? They're feeling safe in each other's embrace because they identify the ability to disassemble, the ability to explain and articulate why something from the past did not work. And that clarity, right? The clarity that we give each other, the clarity of intention, the clarity of direction, it allows for the context by which we can set our sights in terms of our goals. But that's why I keep on seeing that a lot of these partnerships that are forming right now, I keep on getting trepidation, not hesitation, moving towards one another carefully, being energetically mindful, while at the same time recognizing and seeing, working through modifications, adapting to one another, right? Being able, even feeling the relief and release of being able to articulate upon things that are frustrating one another quickly and easily, right? And not, again, feeling the relief when you're able to articulate something that is bothering and immediately meeting the vibration of someone that works to correct it, that helps us identify the difference between energy that is adaptable, that's building towards aspiration, versus energy that energy is healing from the past, that was more inspirational. And when we're, again, continuing to get clarification, Page of Cups in its reversal in combination with our Moon card in its upright, highest priority messages from Spirit. Yes, because when we're building into, and this is why I keep on hearing, like, there's energy right now healing from, I keep on getting like burst relationships. Why are these burst relationships? Because energy that is built upon inspiration often doesn't have any consistency in it, right? Because when someone is only moving towards us from the space of inspiration, it's often articulated by something that feels like confusing, because it's only coming when someone is feeling inspired to do so. It's only coming when someone is coming like into the space where they feel the emotionality, wherein they feel that sense or that space of being able to build towards. And this is why I keep on seeing that there's a little bit of this energy here in separation, navigating circumstances or situations wherein someone, either something emotionally or spiritually or physically from the past returned. But either, again, the recognition between being able to see the difference between something from the past trying to, like, coming back in the same exact way that it left, right? The energy that, like, again, works into the energetic burst where, like, it feels like it's sudden and then it draws away again. It almost feels like the ability to see the energetic pattern of an inconsistent relationship that is built more upon the proclivity of another's inspiration, right? The energy that often comes into a space of talking about or wishing for things instead of doing them is being predicated now by a lot of these new relationships that are happening, that are coming towards a space of helping another person see the difference between someone who is aspirational, who understands and recognizes the consistency that we work to create in partnership, and also shows the adaptability and the accommodations and the adjustments that we give one another to get there. But often, and this is why some of this energy coming into union right now is getting really upset, because it's often in the moment that you receive that your eyes are suddenly clear in terms of where it was not. For energy moving into divine union right now, for a lot of the energy moving into divine union right now, this is the energy experiencing that from the perspective of the self. And this is why I keep on seeing that this is energy that is working through catharsis, because often when we see something about the self that we couldn't see before, it's hard not to get too hard on the self. But this is why the counterpart is helping in that space, because that is the counterpart that articulates to one another and says, the gift to be able to see something that you need to work upon, like, that is the energetic gift, because it allows a context by which you can change, you can adapt. Right? That is like the energy that is almost feeling the power of the higher self via the connection to counterpart, which is saying, what is the counterpart saying? Be gentle with yourself as you move towards the perfected self. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within divine union, I just keep on seeing that a lot of this energy deep within divine union, not taking things personally, but being energetically productive. Recognizing and identifying where the work is. And that's why I keep on seeing that for a lot of this energy, that ability of putting a modified amount of energy towards something to recognize whether something can be healed or not. There's an adaptability point there, because specifically and particularly, I keep on hearing the olive branch but not the tree. Because when we understand ourselves and we understand the nature of healing, we extend an olive branch, but we don't cut down the tree, because we don't go out of our way beyond the capacity that is being asked from another. You know, we move something gently in accordance to it to see if another person is receptive. Continuing to get clarification between our Moon card in combination with our Five of Cups. Can I get one card to clarify, please? Clarification coming through right now with our Tower card in its reversal. And I love to see the Tower card in its reversal here because I told you there's a lot of this energy that we're recognizing and identifying that's working in the space of catharsis right now. If you've been feeling kind of dragged out right now, if you're feeling kind of energetically exhausted, there's a combination force that we're currently experiencing which is the combination of one, what I like to call the eclipse doldrums, right? It's the feeling that we often get coming out of eclipse cycles. I always like to describe this is worse. This is often harder than just coming into the eclipses themselves, because at least when we go into eclipses, everybody's excited. They can feel that ramp up. But like I like to point out, like sometimes coming out of the eclipses can feel like, like it's like the lights come on in the rave. You know what I mean? Like it feels like it's not pretty. It feels heavy. It feels like it leaves you feeling like a little exhausted. But that's why I keep on seeing that ability of moving through this. I'm going to say this right now. If all you're doing, if you are working right now, if you're having to spend all of your energy just trying to build upon maintaining an even keel, congratulations, right? Because that's like often, and this is why we talk about the fact that you don't need to feel like you don't have to feel called to work towards every astrological cycle, right? Like the ability to and that's why we often talk about the fact that like eclipses, the reason others describe eclipses as chaotic, I feel like chaotic's the wrong word for it. Eclipses are unpredictable because they just raise the volume knob on whatever it is that we're experiencing. And so this one I kept on describing, it's like the volume knob got raised at a very discordant note. So the ability to not let oneself get like I keep on seeing working in that context of not letting oneself get too keyed up or not taking something too personally. Like the ability to self-regulate, this was a lot of the work that we were kind of faced with as we navigated through this eclipse cycle. So if you've been self-regulating, I want you to congratulations. Because anything above that right now is kind of extra credit. Continuing to get clarification between our 5 of Cups in combination with our Wheel of Fortune in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now. And I know it's easier said than done right now. Because again, what's happening at the same time as we were experiencing this intensification of energy that we just came out of with the eclipse, the combination of the Venus retrograde, which makes us over-concentrate on the self, with the Mercury retrograde, which means things are breaking down. So having things happening and feeling like they're very directed towards us, right? Like a lot of this, a lot of working through this space is working through being having to work through that space where it felt very directed to the self. But that's why, again, regardless as to whether it is or not, we've been talking a lot about the fact that when we work through these cycles, all of these things are gifts, right? It's really we're not being punished with these things. Mercury retrograde, I know it feels like everything breaks during Mercury retrograde, but Mercury retrogrades are here to help us recognize the difference between a groove and a rut. Sometimes, I'm telling you right now, I challenge you, for everything that breaks down during Mercury retrograde, I bet you can tell me how many times you've innovated, how many times you found a better way. Did Mercury retrograde break your toaster, or did it help you find a new toaster, right? It's a lot of that work that we often experience. Venus retrogrades are not here to make us hate ourselves, okay? Venus retrograde is the energy that is actually trying to say you are beautiful just the way you are. You are a masterpiece because you are a work in progress. And when someone throws grit, right? When someone throws grit on the mirror of the self, it's not about throwing it back. It's not about getting into a mudslinging contest. It's about remembering that before we used to have mirrors, how would we have mirrors? You needed grit to create a mirror. That grit is what polishes a mirror. That when we take another's note, right, and we observe it, and we recognize if it triggers us, and we say to ourselves, I can do better, it allows the capacity of being able to amplify upon change. And it's that change that helps us ascend closer to our higher self. So again, working in that context. I'm going to say the same things I was saying all during this retrograde. And that's what's hard when we were coming through these retrogrades and also coming out of the eclipse. Because you come out of the eclipse, you go, thank you, it's over. But it's not over. It's the same exact energy. Okay? It's almost harder because now it doesn't feel as amplified. And that's why I kept telling you guys not to take things personally during the retrograde, because I was trying to save you a reading. Because again, one of the ways you can identify if you were able to go through a retrograde effectively is coming out of, the eclipse effectively, is coming out of an eclipse and being able to say, I said what I said, right? Versus coming out of eclipse and going, oh no, what did I do? Now, continuing the clarification between our 10 of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our 4 of Pentacles in its reversal, may I please have one card to clarify? We've got here our Ace of Cups. Right? And that's what I keep on seeing. There's something beautiful about this energy right now, that it's conversations as it relates to the work that we put ourselves to in relationality to making peace with things. And I just have to stress this. Making peace with things is rarely peaceful. The reason we say making peace and not finding peace is because when you're on a good spiritual path work, you work for it. You work for that peace. And that doesn't mean being overly, and this is important here, okay? This doesn't mean bypassing, right? And this is a lot of the difficulty here, okay? And I know you guys you're gonna get frustrated at me pointing this out, okay? When we say we are protecting our peace, often it indicates that we're bypassing, right? Because protecting our peace is articulating and saying, remember what we said about working in the space of identifying. When we're making peace, right, the activation point is identifying and working in the self. And I know this is frustrating, between the difference on relationality to what feels like it creates peace within us versus what feels right in relationality to the peace that we're trying to create around us. And those are different things, right? It's a very refined message, right? Because when we're working to make peace, it is actually an activation point, right? It is something that we challenge ourselves on. We move in accordance to it. We push towards it. We push towards peace, but we push gently towards peace, right? Why do we push gently towards peace? Because when we're trying to energetically heal, right, we push towards peace. We don't shove peace. Do you understand? We don't shove peace, right? When we're trying to force our peace onto another, this is why moving into the context of this, of that, will often become energetically toxic, right? When you say to someone, I'm trying to help you, and someone doesn't want to be helped, right? When you're like trying to drag someone across the street and you say, I'm helping, and another person saying, I'm not even trying to get across the street, it doesn't matter what your intention is. It's the mindfulness in terms of how another person receives it. So the ability to work towards that context, the ability of the courtesy that we address when we push for peace, right? It feels like a nudge. It feels like the encouragement of saying, this is the inclination by which I would hope to move something into a direction, but I'm not going to force into that vibration. It requires the conscientious effort in you wanting to do the same. This is how we make peace with one another. And so I keep on seeing that a lot of that work, right, moving into the context of identifying, like to the degree of working in that fashion, it's not easy, right? It's gentle. It's considerate. It's not demanding. And this is why I keep on seeing that a lot of the relationships that are coming together right now, there's so much delicacy, because so much of that delicacy is being articulated upon the state or the space wherein we recognize that this is energy that is being profoundly courteous to one another, because in the mindfulness that they are expressing and being respective to the adaptability point, this is why some of these relationships that are coming together today are like lace, because they're saying to one another, I know how to weave the fabric of a healthy relationship. I don't wait for it. I create it, and I put intention towards it. While for masculine and feminine right now that are coming into divine union, I just keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy coming into divine union right now, this is the energy that is, I keep on seeing, integrating lessons, stitching the past and the present together. Because often when we're on that journey of healing, if there are things that we had to disassociate from, some things we cannot, some things we cannot navigate because we're not ready for them. There is something that is known as healthy disassociation, right? Sometimes we have to put something away because at the time that we're traumatized, it's just too much. And what's beautiful that I'm seeing that's happening right now for some of these energies that are coming into divine union is I just keep on hearing that for some of this energy, it is the ability to recognize and identify something that they are energetically ready to integrate, something that they're ready to face. And why is the energy coming into a space where they feel that they are ready to face something? Because they are being held in the embrace of a relationship wherein they feel truly seen. They feel truly valued. They feel that they're they're working towards their aspiration. Because again, a healthy relationship doesn't, and I keep on seeing this, a healthy relationship does not complete us. It helps us see ourselves with more clarity. The completion point is within the self. The ability to see oneself is what a good relationship brings forth. Continuing for a lot of the energy right now, deep within divine union, four of Pentacles in its reversal, in combination with our Tower card in its reversal. May I have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with that Five of Swords in its upright. Now, this has everything to do with a lot of the work in the context of speaking towards and relation. And I keep on seeing a lot of these conversations that are happening right now for energy deep within divine union have to be, they're focused upon and contingent upon working in the context of experiencing and seeing the past from a new perspective. And why are we seeing that right now? Because Mercury has woken up behind Neptune, right? And Neptune is the energy of the past. It is the memory, right? The collective memory. So Mercury is the innovation. So Mercury waking up behind Neptune, it's being able to see something from the past with a new form of clarity. Being able to talk about things that are intrinsic and important. And at the same time, I keep on seeing there's like, I keep on seeing like the ability to appreciate and to like talk about the past in a new way. This is why I keep on describing this as Renaissance energy, because the energy of the past is ahead of the energy of the future, which is the Mercury energy is behind and the Neptune energy is ahead. Continuing to get clarification between our Tower card in its reversal in combination with our Fool card in its upright. Can I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Four of Cups in its reversal. Now, a lot of the, one of the things that we're seeing that's happening too as well has to do with the fact that I keep on describing, like the best way I can kind of describe what's happening right now is I keep on talking. We've got this like little cluster of planets that are all wiggling back and forth between like the Pisces and Aries like divide, and now Saturn has come up into it. Okay. And the reason why like Saturn coming up into it is so important is because there's something very valuable in recognizing lessons, like lessons that occur over the span of time is what I keep on seeing. And it's interesting too, because I keep on seeing, and this is why I see like this is having a big impact on the energy and separation, right? It has to do in relationality. I keep on seeing inspiration versus energetic practice, right? Now this is really important because the difference between being inspired is that feeling upon waiting for the mood to strike, right? Like it's like anyone can be inspired, but to build into a space of aspiration is a standard that we set for ourselves. It's a condition we embody. So I keep on seeing that this is why it's so important, because especially for energy and separation right now, the ability to recognize the reason why a relationship wasn't working was because someone's building more in the context of inspiration, only doing something when they feel inclined to do it, only doing something when they feel the energetic mood that strikes, as opposed to building into the context of an energy that is aspirational, holds an energetic standard, shows up every day because that is the standard they set for themselves. This is the energy that is working right now. And this is why I keep on describing this as chariot lessons, because this is the energy that is able to recognize and identify the difference between inspirational and aspirational, right? Putting in the concerted effort, right, of energetic practice, as opposed to situations and circumstances in the past where, again, when one person is moving in an inspirational way and another person's moving aspirational, it'll always feel like a disharmony point, because one person is showing up and they're holding the whole fabric of the relationship together, as the other is just moving more in a space of inclination. So there's a lot of that work that we're seeing to a certain extent, because this is the energy that is being able to be in a context in separation. And even some of these new energetic energies that are seeing that difference, and it's giving them all the clarity they need as it relates to a circumstance or situation in the past, right? Like that is the difference between, like I keep on saying, the difference between a fling and like a future, right? Like a fling is something we do when the mood strikes. A future is something we build together. Continuing to get clarification between our Ace of Cups in combination with our Five of Swords in its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification, there it is, coming through. And this is why and this is why for so many of these relationships right now that are coming together, there's so much complaining. I just gotta stress this. I'm laughing about it because I'm seeing situations where energy is looking at each other and going, oh my gosh, I can complain to you. I think I love you. Because like this is the energy that feels like when we feel, why do we love complaining so much? When we feel safe to energetically complain, when we feel safe to articulate our frustration and someone doesn't run away from it, someone hears us, they feel it, they work in the context of wanting to make something easier. Never do we feel more relieved, because that is the energy that doesn't feel like the love that they have to give another is performative in not complaining. And I can see some energy right now that is healing from some kind of relationship from the past that was great, but left no room for complaint, right? Something that was something that was something that was one this is what we talk about when walking on eggshells, which is not when someone's in a context where they're coming towards us only for inspiration. It doesn't allow us any context in being our authentic self, because that's the energy that goes goes, that's not very inspirational of you, and then disappears because they're not looking to what they're trying to build. They're just hooked on an energetic feeling, right? So I just keep on seeing that a lot of that space, this is why there is something about griping right now in some of these new partnerships that feels like a celebration, because this is happy griping. This is the ability to feel the easement and being able to gripe that is articulating upon feeling the space to be authentic. And another not taking it personally, but simultaneously also being relieved, right? And that's why for a lot of the energy right now coming into divine union, this is the energy that I keep on seeing. It's not about it. When you feel hard on the self, you raise the roof, right? That's what I keep on seeing here. That ability of doing so, right? When we feel I keep on seeing that this is the energy right now. This is why this is why the energy coming into divine union is feeling so hard on themselves right now, because they're raising the roof. Why are they raising the roof? They're setting themselves on a higher standard, right? And sometimes we feel energetically devastated when we're setting ourselves on a higher standard, because you look at the past and go, I can do better than that. And through your eyes, I see the fact that I can do better, right? Masculine and feminine, deep within divine union. This is the energy that's more in a space of, I keep on seeing, it's more Two of Swords energy. It's saying, don't confuse, I keep on hearing the energy right now, deep within divine union, going, don't confuse stubbornness with exquisite insistence. Don't confuse stubbornness with exquisite insistence. Because how can you tell the difference between stubbornness? We're stubborn on things we can't explain why. You just don't like it. Just don't like them. Right? When someone says that, why? And they go, don't know. That's interesting. Because often when we say to ourselves, I just don't like it, and we go, why? And you go, can't put my finger on it. It's because you're avoiding something in the self, right? That's usually the hallmark of the fact that you're bypassing. Our ability to articulate about why things bother us, help us identify the difference. It is fundamental, because it helps us it is the recognition system between the ego and the higher self, right? And that ability to the ability to articulate the reasons why you don't like something, or the reasons why you love something, that is literally the clarification system we have within us. The exploration of that helps us understand if it's an us problem or if it's a them problem, right? If it's something that is important that we can articulate upon versus something that we're trying to avoid. So we say, we just don't like the resistance system called the ego within the self goes, I just don't like it, right? Continuing to get clarification between the five of swords in its reverse, in its upright, and the Four of Cups in its reversal. Can I get one? I already know what the card is. Can I get one card to clarify? So let's talk about the force field that happens when someone's being stubborn. Okay. Because when someone when someone's being energetically stubborn on something, right? It's it's very lonely. There's a reason why we say it's very lonely being right all the time. Why do we say it's very lonely being right all the time? Because energy that feels like they're righteous gets isolated. Because when you're energetically right, nobody can converse with you, right? When you're in the space that you refuse to see something and you're not being energetically logical, there's a force field that gets created around you because nobody wants to talk to you. Because it creates that space of resistance where everyone just gets exhausted because there's no logic that can permeate the egoic nature of the self. The ego creates its own force field. So often in those modalities wherein this occurs, right, it almost creates this space where energy has to bypass, specifically because the resistance point of someone that refuses to hear something else but insists upon being right, energy just avoids. Just move around them. Because it's too much of an energetic exchange for no energetic purpose, right? It creates that impossibility space. So that's why we keep on seeing that there's a lot of this, like I keep on seeing there's a lot of energy right now working in the context of trying to navigate circumstances or situations where in the past there could be scenarios like this. Hoping, because the difficulty when someone's in this space is you can't force a flower. When someone's in that space and they don't recognize they're embodying that, it requires the observation of the self to come into a space of humility, to recognize the changes that we're working towards, right? To build into, you have to like let those tendrils unfold to a certain extent, by which you can allow for the empathy to feel what others are feeling, that allow for the productivity where anything can be healed. But this is why we talk about the fact that a healing journey cannot be forced on another. Because when we try to force our healing journeys on each other, we create more energetic trauma. So I keep on seeing that there's a lot of that work in that condition, having to like for energy deep within divine union. That's why I keep on hearing like extending an olive branch, but not cutting down the tree. Because when you're extending an olive branch, you're giving someone the opportunity to allow something to grow. You're giving them the opportunity to allow something to flourish, but you're not forcing that condition upon them, right? You're giving them, you're extending a desire to heal something. While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming, and that's why I keep on seeing like working in that context, it's like a lot of that. It's like a lot of that release and relief. Because again, especially if these are modalities where another feels the frustration and not being able to get through some kind of trauma, this is how the energy and counterpart hold one another through it. Right? Because often in those moments of working in the context of healing each other's trauma, this is the energy that's potentially coming into a better understanding of themselves via the healthy energetic partnership. And this is why there's that moment, right? See the moment? You see what's happening here? The energetic moment coming into divine union where we start to see things that we couldn't see about ourselves before. The unfolding, the blossoming of the self. But it's hard. It's painful because you accept things that you couldn't see before. Awakening is often, again, awakening to the pain is necessary to be able to become the self, because it's in the observation of something that you couldn't see before that pain is reached, that is identified as regret, that then becomes the affirmation of the self to do better. So it is the unfolding of the consciousness that is always arriving, but always feeling like it's moving continually on that pathwork of personal destination. While for masculine and feminine energy right now in separation, that's why I see a lot of the conversations that are happening right now in separation are built upon the gift of seeing where something is going, right? Because often when we have those moments, right, the difference between energy that comes towards one another for being inspired, right? I keep on seeing, and that's what's beautiful about it. It's not that the energy moving in, coming into divine union and deep within divine union is not inspired by counterpart, but inspiration isn't the engine. Aspiration is the engine. Inspiration is the gift from aspiration. It's not the other way. And often when we build into relationships where another person looks to us for inspiration and inspiration only, it often creates that false sense of self where we feel like we're performing the act of the self, because we don't feel like we can be our authentic self. Because especially if those are moments where another person's coming towards us for inspiration and we articulate displeasure, we articulate something that makes us human, and energy drives away from us at that moment, we feel like an object instead of a person. We feel like we feel like someone is coming towards us, not because they want to build something with us, but because it feels good of them. And what we talk about here a lot is, again, what feels like it's in service to both the higher self and the ego is when things feel good and are good, right? Creating the space of both. And I keep on seeing a lot of energy right now that is articulating and looking at relationships, saying the healthy relationship is one that serves both spheres. The sphere of the inspiration, how it makes us feel, the thing that it creates within us, but also serves the sphere of aspiration, what something is building towards, the two trajectory points that lead us into harmonic relationship. And that's why I keep on seeing right now, look at this, I'm telling you right now, A lot of endings as it relates to partnerships that feel like they're not serving both of those coordinates, or a lot of frustration being expressed in new relationships about what? Past experiences wherein the relationships were not meeting those dual coordinates. Final card for today's spread between our Nine of Swords in its upright in combination with our Six of Cups in its reversal. The Sun card. So I keep on seeing there's something about this here that feels like I keep like this is a bit, and I want to stress this. I was, especially with the Venus in retrograde, like closing out tomorrow, thank goodness. There's a lot, like clarification is an energetic gift, and the ability to, I keep on seeing a bit of the gift that we're having right now, particularly with the placement of the planets specifically. And I keep on getting the major reason this is happening right now is because Mercury and Venus are behind Neptune. Okay. And the ability to observe Neptune is creating a quality and characteristic right now that is allowing the ability to feel, to observe the experience, the emotions, and not feel energetically overwhelmed by them. Right? It's like a bit of the gift that we're getting. It's a bit of the gift that we're getting right now coming out of this eclipse cycle and this in this interesting little K-turn that we saw that occurred with the planets, and the ability to observe one's own emotions, often from a place of the higher self. Sometimes we see things there that allow us to honor the emotions. And that's why I keep on hearing it's an act of honoring the emotions, because we don't honor the emotions by just doing whatever the emotions dictate for us to do. The emotions do not hold a map. The emotions do not have direction. Emotions don't know where they're going. Emotions ask for things, right? And when we're working in service of our highest self, we honor our emotions, not just by being controlled by them, but paying attention to what the emotions are asking for and regulating them with what it is that we ourselves are moving towards. And the ability of doing so, I keep on seeing, is allowing for a lot of clarity and conversation. And that's why I'm seeing even now, if the one benefit that may be occurring right now for some of the energy coming into separation is non-traumatizing closures of relationships via the ability to articulate exactly what is happening in the conditions that needs to come to a closure point. Because how is trauma formed? Trauma is formed in spaces that are confusing. Confusion itself is a reason to be able to come into separation, because the gift that we can always give one another when one is experiencing confusion is offering clarity, right? So I just keep on seeing that there's a lot of that work that's happening right now in building clarity as it relates to situations and being able to articulate and aspire and speak towards what one aspires for versus what isn't necessarily in a space that it's possible. And there's something about the healing that's coming through in the space of being able to come into that point of being able to come into healthy closure that in itself is restorational. While for new energies coming into union right now, the airing of the grievance, the airing of the frustration, this is almost reaffirming the solidity of some of these connections, because this is the energy that does not just feel that they have to be performative in the self to come into partnership and maintain something, but they feel that they can be authentic within it that allows for the full expression of being. While for energy deep within divine union right now, I just keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy deep within divine union, being able to express the meaning that you have towards something, being able to amplify why something is important, to be able to find the language and to find the words. I just keep on seeing that that's a lot of that energy that is continuing to do that work in trying to heal things, but only to a portion, right? Working on the self to such an extent that I keep on seeing the gentle nudge of something that is truly healing, which is extending something in such a way that you're articulating a desire to move in that direction, but not feeling like you're forcing it. Right? So a lot of that work as it relates to courtesy. Bottom of the deck on this reading, there's that Hermit card. I'm not surprised to see it. Yesterday we had the Emperor card, bottom of the deck. Today we have the Hermit, because I just keep on recognizing there's a lot of work that we're seeing in relationality to concentration on the self. This has to do with the Venus retrograde cycles. Interestingly, this is what happens to us during Venus and retrograde cycles. Like the over concentration on the self. It's very easy to start overthinking during Venus retrograde cycles, especially this most recent one that we experienced, because we also had Mercury retrograde happening at the same time. But again, when we are overly, it's not about overthinking. It's overthinking in a way that feels energetically productive, right? So I just keep on seeing that even in that space, and this is what we talk about, as it relates to another's intentions, I keep on feeling like there's a lot of work that had to be navigated during this retrograde cycle as it relates to contending with things that may have felt passive aggressive. Because often when we're dealing with passive aggressiveness, it can feel very confusing, because if there isn't a need, if there isn't a problem that we cannot feel the ability to express from the throat chakra, it would usually be indicative of something that we have to clarify within, right? Like it has to do with that conversation about things that bother us, right? When we're doing the work and introspecting upon what bothers us, why we may even feel passive aggressive towards things, we usually find things about the self that we can work on, right? And that's why I keep on seeing at the same time, when another gives us something that's energetically passive aggressive, we don't overly correct for it, because there's something about that space that we identify and recognize as it relates to not being upset if another person's working through something, but almost creating the environment by which they can hopefully recognize if something is there. Like again, I want to say it like this: if something's bothering me, promise that you'll tell me. Right? Because that ability of being able to have the openness to express frustration is what allows for the groundwork wherein anything can be remediated or anything can be fixed. So that's why I keep on seeing that there's a lot of energy right now reorienting in relationality to their perceptions on passive aggressiveness, both recognizing it within themselves or how they experience it as they see it from the perspective of others. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you so much for being here to receive it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can do so on my site. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading and you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you would like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never PM you. I will never DM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my site. So I encourage you to do it there. Also, a couple of updates before we move into personal readings today. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who attended our recent class on the Justice card. Our next class will be held on Wednesday, April 16th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the Hanged Man. If you would like to become a part of our tarot class program, all you need to do is head over to my Substack and become a paid subscriber. Your paid subscription to my Substack is your ticket of entry into our live classes each and every month. You will also, as a monthly subscriber, have access to over 9 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library Archive. It's not necessary to catch up. I will do my best to give you an update on everything we've studied prior to beginning our next class, but the material is there for you to receive when you're ready to receive it. You will also have access to a one-on-one mentorship class with me. You also have access to a chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything that we've studied or are currently learning. If you become a founding member, not only will you receive full access to the entirety of the Tarot Church Library, that is over 12 hours worth of material in an ever-expanding library, but you will also have access to a complimentary one-on-one mentorship class with me, wherein I will meet with you personally and assess where you are on your tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes most effectively, moving towards your personal tarot goals. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. Don't let your lack of experience or your robust experience prevent you from joining us in these classes. And even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my Substack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings or services. I also post my weekly newsletter there, which will let you know about my in-person events as well as my online live schedule. I also want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for any of my clients seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason, as those classes are focused on each individual's personal spiritual goals and journey work. Those classes can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits. Also, for my clients seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, again, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey. I'm also very happy to now offer dream interpretation readings. You can purchase those on an individual level or as a series. I would encourage, if you purchase a series, that you start to keep a dream journal, as we will meet weekly or bi-weekly with that journal and utilize the tarot to understand the key themes and messages coming towards you in the dream space. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again tomorrow.